Grounded in Gus. 10 years to open that up. Grand day, grand day, grand day. It's grounded in Gus. Augustus is about to go over. Oh, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I want some nuts. I've been craving nuts, but I'll get something about for the last few days. What am I deficient on? Craving the nuts. That's a mineral, right? Yeah. Okay. So I gotta go get some dirt. I got dirty lettuce in there with the actual dirt on it. No? All right. It's low to the ground. All right, I'm gonna sit the phone. I'm gonna sit the phone next to you. I mean, the camera is off, so yeah, they can just hear this. But please talk up though, so they can hear you. When I listen back to our tapes, you sound like you whispering. I can get something that's higher, maybe. That's not gonna work. I gotta think it. What about this? What about my free titties? Bong bong bong. Bong bong. I know. I need my ashtray because I'm a fathead. Because I don't like how that. It made me feel uncomfortable. The same way you're a weird nerd and you need everything your way. I need that to be on the free titties. No, no. Talk so I can see if the mic is picking you up. You talk all little boyish. Say hello, hello, hello. Let me see if the mic. No, your fucking headphones is trash. I told you that. These ones is good. Yeah. Yeah, they can hear me clearly on this. Don't put those Bluetooths on. They won't be able to hear you. You're gonna sound like you there when we call you on the phone. Huh? On the phone call and yeah. I just did my consultation on it. Hold on, y'all. We're trying to get our old self together. That's not where the hole is. You can't never find the hole.
Can you see me? Where's the mic at? Right here? Can you hear me
Just
talking?
talk.
I'm talking regular. Just talk.
It's gonna yeah.
Is
I
it
can
registering?
when I tell you to say something, say something.
Okay. Okay. All right. So Grounded asked me to review the cestui statute, the cestui Vi Act. So I am looking at the original here, and all right. So do you have a copy of this? Because I'm reading the original, and it just literally like I could go through it, but it would take
That's why I was asking how many pages is it?
105.
Okay, so what I sent to Grounded and Gus was 4 pages. It was just like probably a quick.
Well, this is what I have found
So can
back in the
you?
day. This is the when we
This
were
is
doing
what you
our
need though.
research when we first found out about it.
But can you type in?
That is,
So okay, you have the original document, right?
yeah.
But if you go to the clip notes that I sent you,
Hmm.
could you break it down? Would that be easier for you, or do you want to do this document?
Um, let me. How about this? Let me do this. Let me just introduce what is written.
Go ahead,
Read it
take your time,
as
get
it's
yourself
written.
together, because they're not coming in. I
Oh,
just put that post in it. So just go ahead, get yourself together.
okay, cool. All right, I'm just gonna take the time to just All right, so
Oh shit, my food.
hold on. I should tell the people where I'm reading from. Let me
That's
get
what I was
this.
looking for yesterday. That 102 page one.
Let me get let me get some information here. All right, so
All right, take this to the next level. For the elders that's watching on the TV, just keep on, just let them know that you're coming,
okay.
because they can't communicate to let you know that they're here when they're watching on the TV.
Oh, okay. You saying it's no? It doesn't show up?
No, it'll say zero if they're watching on TV.
Okay. All right. So we're trying to take this. I from what I understand, what Grounded wants for you guys, and what someone requested was to break down this particular act. And it's first of all, the act is part of English common law. Um, the English common law was the law of the land in England um, during their monarchy period. Now, I'm going to try to make this not complicated, but in all actuality, the subject matter is complicated. It is only simplified by understanding the individual subjects that you're talking about. So this Sesticai Act is a written piece of law, which makes it now a piece of history. So we're dealing with history, we're dealing with law, we're dealing with the fact that this is English common law. So that means it was the law of another country because we consider this um, place we live in now, the United States, um, to be another country.
But this is a colony of.
So it's important to know history, right? Because you have to know that this was a colony of the English.
And that's why
And by extinction, because it was a colony, their rule reached here. I think one of the important things to understand in this with trying to understand this act is not just the history, not just um, the cultural ramifications of said history, not just that, but you also have to understand that time has an effect on this because at the root of this, like I said, it's a complicated thing, but if I had to simplify it, the simplest way to put all this entire subject that we are talking about, this act versus that act, or the subject of law, um, I hate to use words that are stupid, but the subject is jurisprudence. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about power. I have to, if I could just make it simple, we're talking about power. And at all of these turns and twists and changes in culture and shifts, they're all shifts in power. That's what all of this, if I could simplify it in this most simplest way, that is what we are talking about. We're talking about power. Now, How is said power expressed? Well, power is expressed through rules that we in turn call law. That law is a culmination of two things. It's not just raw power, it's the expression of said power. And we know that expression dips into the imagination or the emotion of the individual. When two people express themselves, it's not the same because this person over here is a maybe they are brought up in a culture or religion that teaches them that they should only express themselves in this way, and while someone else may have been brought up completely differently, so they're going to express themselves in that way. And then there's human variance, where people just completely express themselves randomly. All of that goes into the conversation about power, because when we talk about how power is expressed in the Cestui Via Act, we're talking about how power was used and expressed in the time when there was a monarchy, where there was a family of people who ruled and held the laws because they were the rulers. So it was their law or whatever law that they adopted or what do you call it, promoted, whatever that was, the ruler promoted, that's what became the law. And in this case, it is English common law that most people are aware of at this time period. So in this time period, I think it's King. I don't want to get it wrong. Hmm, Okay, I actually don't have. I probably should. I don't have the king. I don't have the information of the king that was present during the writing of this act. I probably should though. I mean, to be if I'm being, I would want to know which king was present. Looks like King Richard III in 1483. Oh, no, I'm gonna take that back. Mm, um, hold on. Let me double check. I don't like not having a source. If I don't have a source, I can't really say that's what it is. I can tell you I don't know, or I tell you that we all need to find out or whatever. I'm not going to tell you something I don't know. So let me make sure this is correct to the best of my ability. Mm, All right, all right. British monarchs. Mm,
Still searching?
Looking for the I think it's King Charles of England. I just want to tell them the right information here. Who was ruling? It looks like it was King Charles II who was ruling during the time that this law was passed in England. But England went through a few changes in power, so that's one of the things that you have to pay attention to. Helps you understand the purpose of this act. But all right, I'm gonna read you from legislation.gov.uk, the cestui Act of 1666. And hold on, this is not. Yeah, this is not. This is. I'm like doing real time, real,
Blood in this kitchen.
real time
Oh my God.
research. And she asked me to read this to y'all, but
Oh Lord.
if I don't understand something, I'm not gonna.
What the fuck?
Hold on.
Ooh, child. What in the kitchen? My God. I don't know. You still looking?
Yeah, I did. I said that I'm literally researching what I'm reading because I don't want to read something wrong or tell you something that I don't fully understand. And I have questions. When I have questions, I don't have answers. I got more questions. Okay. 1948. Okay. All right. It's kind of hard to find this because it's such an old law, and I'm trying to get you. The original. Okay. All right. So this is what I found so far, guys. I've been able to what I've able to find is that this particular act, I was trying to see when it was first enacted, and I kept getting different numbers. I was getting different years. What I'm looking at is actually when this act was revised. So I'm looking at a revision that occurred in 1948, and then I started looking at another revision that occurred in 1888. So when I see it going back like that, it makes me want to know more. So I found another revision in 1863. So I'm trying to see what these revisions are, how that affected the act. What does this have to do with our conversation about law and the relevance? So I'm sorry about the pause, but having read those things already, I'm just going to go to um, the current, the most current act, and that is, and then try to get an explanation as to why it exists. So if you go to UK, or I said legislation.gov.uk as the website. If you go there, you can look up this cestui Act 1666. It is an act for redress of inconveniences by want of proof of the deceases of persons beyond seas or absenting themselves, upon whose lives estates do who I'm sorry, upon whose lives estates do depend. So it's hard to understand if you don't understand English, but what that's saying is basically we made this act, this law, this rule to address what happens when a person who is supposed to be responsible for a land area, and you again have to put yourself in the mindset, in the historical mindset, to understand why this is necessary. You have to put yourself in a mindset of 400 years ago. So there is a piece of land. This land, let's say this land, it can be tilled. You can grow food on this land, but it's just sitting there, right? Now, you know where the property line is at, and people are starving. You can't go to the owner of the land and say, bro, let me grow some stuff on your land, feed the starving people. You don't know, you can't even, he's not there. He's absent, right? But meanwhile, things is going on. So when they say whose lives estates do depend, well, your life and the lives of your loved ones, together your family, that is your estate. Your estate is what you have natural stock in. It is what you're naturally interested in. As a human being, you are interested in seeing your children do better. You're interested in seeing them grow up and have children of their own. It's natural stock. That is your estate. That's, you know what I mean? So in the case where you are living on land and a person says, this is my land, I own this land, or I have the rules, I'm setting the rules here in this land. If that person is absent, now you have a resource that goes underdeveloped. So when that is the case, people began to petition to the rulers at that time, which would have been the king and the parliament, we we need to do something. We need to redress the situation when there's land that can be used but isn't being used because the landowner is absent. So that's your context. It says recital that Seskevies has gone beyond sea, and that the revisioners cannot find out whether they are alive or dead. Whereas diverse lords of manors and others have granted estates by lease for one or more life or lives, or else the years determined upon one or more life or lives, and hath often and it hath often happened that such person or persons for whose life or lives such estates have been granted have gone beyond the seas, and so absented themselves for many years that the lessors and revisioners cannot find out whether such person or persons be alive or dead, by reason whereof such lessors and revisioners, in regard that the lessors and I'm sorry, have been held out of possession of their tenements for many years, after all the lives which upon the estates depend are dead, in regard that the lessors and revisioners, when they have been brought actions for the recovery of their tenants, have been oh shucks have been put upon it to prove the death of their tenants, when it's almost impossible for them to discover the same, for remedy which mischief so frequently happening to such lessors or revisioners. So it was a whole lot of words to say that the person who is leasing the land, right? Let's say, what's a good example? Hold on, give me a second. I gotta think of a good example. If so, all right. So if you have a apartment, right? You own the apartment, you lease the apartment to somebody, they leave. They don't pick up the mail, they don't take care of the apartment. You go past the apartment, everything is overgrown and crazy, right? They're not taking care of the property. So not only is that happening though, but you're not getting your rents that's due. So because you're not getting your rents, you would have to go down to the sheriff's office or whatever to try to kick the person out. So that's what the remedy would be in this case. That's what I just read to you. So they're looking for a way to remedy the fact that they're not getting paid. They're not getting what's due to them. And they don't have access to the land. That's what they're saying. That's what it looks like to me. So they're trying to recover their tenements, and that's the money. And when it says when it says huh? Say it again. When it says that they have been put upon to prove the death of their tenements, is if I say that I'm losing money, right? Let's say you've been gone for a year. I've lost a year worth of money. When I go to the government, in their case it would have been the king. I'm the landlord. When I go to the king and I say, King, I can't pay the tax. The king is going to say, what you mean you can't pay no tax? You got a healthy piece of land. So you definitely paying some tax. Now, you have to say as the landlord, King, I'm not able to pay the tax because I have not been able to collect tenements. Well, what do you mean you're not collecting tenements? Don't you got a farmer living on your land? Go down there and get me my money. Well, King, the man, he's been dead for a year. Okay, cool. If he dead, prove it. There's got to be something that proves that this man is dead, right? Well, no, King. We don't have a gravestone. We don't have a body. We don't have witnesses. We have nothing that can prove that this person is dead. So, King, I'm not paying no tax. That's a problem. That's a problem for a person who is coming out there to collect the taxes. That's what your revisioner is. Um, and it's a problem for the landlord because now the king is going to take it out your ass. If you telling me that you ain't got my taxes, that everybody, all the lords of the land, they all get together, they come to court, they all got their money. You don't have yours. Now, is that fair to the other landlords? All the other landlords, they got they scrounged up their dollars, they brought it to the king, so that way I can take care of the land. Remember, that's the job of the government is to take care of the people. So now you not only defrauding the other lords who put their money up, but you're defrauding the people. So now you the problem because you don't have what you're supposed to have. So then somebody sits back and says, you know what? This is happening too much. It's too often that I have a farmer or somebody who's living on the land and the person just goes AWOL. We don't have no proof of anything. We got to do something. Well, this was the act that they passed because they're saying that we have to address this as a people. It's affecting lives and estates. Estates in the sense that I'm trying to do business over here. I can't do business because we don't even know what's going on with that piece of farmland over there. So we just wasted money. We can't even farm it, right? So it's affecting everybody. And so that's what this act would have came out of. Now, I have been reading from it. Let me keep going.
Oh, sorry, I was in here cooking. I didn't hear you. I'll just go back and
All
listen to
right.
it. Just keep going.
So if we keep going down, again, I'm just reading the Cestui via Acts 1666. It says 1666, chapter 11, 18, and 19, 19, excuse me, chapter 2. So, all right. It says the preamble is omitted under the authority of Statute Revision Act 1948. So that's something to go read.
Don't omit it mean you didn't tell us the truth.
It doesn't necessarily mean that someone's lying to you. It just it's context.
Right. It means that you're
So
not telling all the truth, though. You're not telling all the information.
no,
Omit.
it just may not be necessary to repeat it. Sometimes, when you write a law or an act, something of this nature, you're stating a purpose. Okay, you're trying to solve a problem or address an issue. So sometimes when you're writing it out, you'll say, for the preservation of uh, women and children, we pass this act of no harm against people who can't protect themselves. So you pass the act. When you go down into the act and you start delineating who are these people who can't protect themselves, you don't want to keep saying the same thing over again. In order to protect those who can't protect themselves, we institute this branch of whatever, whatever. In order to protect those who can't protect it, you don't keep doing that. You just say, um, omit it because I've already said that. So in order to make things concise, sometimes you do omit. But this is in writing law. This is not, I'm not trying to communicate something to you besides the fact that this is what we all are going to agree to do. So, okay. Okay, certain words of enactment are repealed by the state statute, the statute law revision act in 1888, and remained or omitted under the authority of the statute revision act of 1948. Now, the reason why I stopped earlier and there was that long pause is because that seemed like just a small thing. It's not. When someone says we made a revision to an act, think of it as this: when you are playing basketball, right? When you pull up to shoot your jump shot, when the defender puts their hand in your face, you now have to revise your plan. Before you was going to shoot it straight forward, but now you might have to pump fake, you might have to euro, you might have to lean to the side or step back before you shoot. All of those are revisions. So now your 12 footer can become a 15 or 17 footer. Or you can break it down from 12 footer, make it a 9 footer shot when you euro. So all of those revisions are important because what it means is when we go back and look at your stats, if it don't line up, if it don't add up, then there's a problem. So you have to know every little detail of a law or an act because that's what you're being ruled by. And they tell you all the time that ignorance of the law does not absolve you from it. The fact that you don't know is not an excuse. So when they make a revision to something, get up on that. You should know exactly what that revision, how did it affect the original law, and what is the effect of the new law. So that's why I stopped earlier. Again, I apologize for that long break. So these revisions happen, and I'm gonna go down to the first paragraph. It says, since the cave vie remaining beyond sea for 7 years together, and no proof of their lives, judge an action to direct a verdict as though such the cave vie were dead. If such persons, for whose life, thank you, hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. If such person or persons for whose life or lives such estates have been or shall be granted as aforesaid shall remain beyond seas or elsewhere, absent themselves in this realm by the space of 7 years together, and no sufficient evident proof be made of the lives of such persons respectively in any action, capital A, check that out, y'all, any action commenced for the recovery of such tenements by the lessors or revisioners, in every such case, the person or persons upon whose life or lives such estate depends shall be accounted as naturally dead. So let me stop right there because that's probably enough. What that basically means is if, for whatever reason, you are a person who someone is depending upon for you to meet, in this case, with land ownership, if you're supposed to meet a tenement, if you're supposed to pay a tenement to a lessor, a person who's leasing to you, if you're supposed to pay them, and a period passes of 7 years in which such payment is not received, or an action, what that means is, in this case, again, we're talking about if it's old times, a letter with your signature on it. You send that letter in, it may take 2 years. It ain't no trains, planes, and automobiles back then, right? So It may take 2 years for this letter to get from where you are in Australia, discovering a new species of frog, right? You doing groundbreaking work, but you ain't paying your lease back home. You know what I mean? Because you got to change the world. So you write a letter, and on that letter, you're going to put your stamp and your signature. You're going to send that letter all the way back to England. And it may take it 2 years to get there, but when it get there, whoever it is that you owe, if your son or daughter is able to produce that letter, that is an action that says that the living man is alive and you cannot foreclose on his estate or any debts that he may owe. He still intends to settle those debts.
And any interest owed to him must be.
And if you've been profiting for that time, see, it goes both ways. If this man has been gone for 7 years and um, things are owed, maybe those things are owed, right? But let's say the land that he's been leasing, let's say it overproduced. Let's say he left it to his son. He said, "Listen, son, I got to go figure these frogs out in Australia. I can't be no regular farmer. I'm about to change the world. You farm." And his son go ahead and farm, or his nephew go ahead and farm the land. Well, if they have an overproduction, or they digging a new water well for the animals, and they find oil or something like that, gold. Well, shit. The person who's leasing the land, they not only going to want what they're owed, they're going to want to know, well, what's your plans? What you doing with this? The abundance that you have now, because we got some plans that we want to do with it, and we have rights to it. So now that you've come across that abundance, what are you going to do with it? You got to have a plan or something. Because if you just sitting on it, then you affecting the lives of others. You have a resource. You hit a water vein. We all fucking die in a drought. The Lords is going to go to the king, and they're going to say, "Listen, this dude over here, he could save the whole kingdom, but we think he did." That letter is an action of proof that the living person is due. They're alive to do both, to receive and to give. They're alive to be able to create that debt. Oh, you got to pay somebody, you owe them, and they're also alive to receive the bounty or the benefit of that transaction. So you can't short them. You can't take from them. That's what this is for. So so now a period of 7 years goes by. There's no letter from dad. We ain't heard from him. He was in Australia. Maybe he got bit by one of them bugs and died. We don't hear from him for 7 years. Now the person, the lessor, can go to the king and say, "It's been 7 years. Can we declare this person dead? Settle his books. Can you stop coming after me for the debt? Because I don't have it, because this man hasn't been producing for 7 years. He hasn't paid me, and I can't pay you. It's only right." So that's where this law would have come into effect. Um, it says, so I stopped at no sufficient proof be made of their life. Um, okay. And every action brought for the recovery of said tenements by the lessors or revisioners, their hires or assigns. You know the hires or assigns because when they come to tow your car, they hire somebody and assign them to come get your shit. So you know those people. Those are they another and well today we call them agents. Okay. So the judges before whom such action shall be brought shall direct the jury to give the verdict as if the person so remaining beyond seas or otherwise absenting himself were dead. So now, when it comes to allotting um, the produce of the land or the land itself, let's say when you die, if we have a way of doing things, when a person dies, we transfer the debt to the oldest child. I'll just make something up. I mean, I'm just making stuff up. But if this is how we do it, if we say when the person dies, they transfer the debt or they transfer the riches or whatever it is to the oldest male child. I don't know, the oldest something like that, right? Well, if that's the case, if that's how you do it, if I'm taking this person to court, I'm taking the son to court. Your dad been missing for 7 years. I'm taking the son to court. You guys owe me 7 years worth of back tenements, which I guess today we would call rent, right? Rent, tenement, fees, however you want to, cause it. But again, at that time, people bought and sold um, agriculture. So you may not owe money. You may owe bushels, and you backed up 7 seasons worth of bushels of whatever fruit or whatever produce your land may produce, right? So when they take you to court, the reason why they're telling the judge to direct the jury is because if if otherwise, they would say, okay, well, um, you can't come in and take seven. Let's say the guy finds something valuable on the land, and the lessor says, "Well, I'm gonna send my men in. I'm gonna send my hires, my agents, my assignees. I'm gonna send them in, and they're gonna take stuff that you produce. And then let's say you produce, I don't know, you jewelry, whatever. You're a jewelry maker. So since you ain't paid me rent in 7 years, I'm gonna come take this fine jewelry that you make. The jewelry that you make is worth 10 times 7 years worth of rents, but I'm taking it all because you owe me 7 years worth of rents. So I'm just taking everything. Well, somebody might say, well, that's not right. I wouldn't want that to happen to me. So I don't think you should be able to take more than what they owe you. I think you should only be able to take what's worth exactly what they owe you, right? That's how somebody else may say we should do this. Well, if the jury were to try to do that and 7 years has passed, if the jury says, well, we believe he should only get exactly 7 years worth of stuff. He should not get this man's jewelry that he's been producing at a high rate and he gets a lot of money for it. He shouldn't get all of that. Well, the judge would step in and say, because of the Cestui Vi Act, I'm directing you, jury, to act as if though this man's father is dead. And we will do what we do when a person dies and you owe. It changes your action based upon the law. You are directed to do it this way. So it's been 7 years, no proof of life. If the rule is when somebody dies, their estate goes to their son, then we go after the son. Son, you owe us 7 years worth of rent because you inherited your father's debts and you inherited the land and the produce and all that. That's how they would rule. That's what this law is talking about. So, let me see. All right, so where was I at? I'm sorry, I lost my place here. This law. Okay, I think I was reading the original. Yeah. All right. All right. What happened to the one I was reading? All right. I'm sorry, I had a phone call come through and it pushed out the what I was reading.
Is that Muff again calling?
No, the phone call somehow took out what I was reading. I was reading from um, UK.gov. Okay, we're back. Okay. Oh, okay. I think I finished it. Yeah. The verdict should give their verdict as if the person so remaining beyond seas, otherwise absent himself or dead. Right. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Let's go down to the fourth part of it because the third textual amendment was repealed by the State Law Revision Act in 1948, and four. Okay. If supposed dead man proved to be alive, then the title is revested. Action for mean profits with interest. Provided that if any person or persons shall be evicted out of lands or tenements by virtue of this act, afterwards, if such person or persons upon whose life or lives each estate or estates depend shall return again from beyond the seas, or shall on proof of any action be brought for recovery of the same, to be made appear to be living, or have been living at the time of the eviction, that then from thenceforth the tenant or lessee who was outed of the same, his or their executors, administers, or assignees shall or may re-enter, repossess, have hold, and enjoy said lands or tenements in his or their former estate. Do I want to stop there? No, okay. For during the yeah, no, I'm gonna stop there. All right, let's go back. So, in our analogy, all right, we said that the person is uh, thought to be dead. So, since that person is thought to be dead, we're going to go ahead and proceed on whatever the rules are if the person dies. Okay. In this case, it says, well, what happens if you think the person is dead? But it turns out that they're not dead. So we get to 7 years. We go 7 years. They come through. They say, well, the rule is you haven't been paying. You haven't been paying your tenements. You haven't been abiding by the contract. So since you haven't been doing that, um, we're going to go ahead and evict you. So kicking you basically off of the land, again, thinking agricultural, is to take away your ability to profit for yourself because everything comes from the land. So if I kick you off the land, you can't farm the land, you can't mine the land. Okay. So that will be the worst case scenario. I know today we think of it in terms of being in a house that you're getting kicked out of or an apartment that you're getting kicked out of. But you have to put yourself in the mindset of agriculture because if you put yourself in that mindset, you can understand the roots and the I can't think of the word. This I hate to say it this way, but the spirit of it. You want to understand the essence of what we're talking about. And since these are laws and laws are passed by men, we want to understand the culture also of the people who are passing this law. Like why? Okay, that'll give you the why. I'm sorry. The who will give you the why. So uh, okay, so let's say 7 years, let's say it passed. They go ahead and they want to kick the people off the land. So they're like, oh, you haven't been paying or you haven't been upholding your part of the contract, whatever that contract may be. Um, you haven't been holding up your part. It's been 7 years, so we're gonna kick you off. Well, if 7 years and a day happens, and who rides up on the horse, but good old dad, then it's oh well, he's alive. We thought he was dead, but he's alive. So what do we do in that case? Well, um, this part of the law, this part of this act, is specifically designed for that. It's in the case of you've met your guideline, the 7 years has passed, you're able to take action as if the person is dead, whatever those actions may be. I haven't done any background on that. But what happens when you die if you have land and the land is in debt or the land has riches on it? Um, what, how does that go? Well, that's what they would have done. Whatever the practice was at the time, they would have went ahead and done that practice. So this law is given just in case you were wrong. So if that person is indeed alive and able to prove it, right, this is what you would be doing. That's what this part is saying. So provided always that if any person or person shall be evicted out of any lands or tenements by virtue of this act, afterwards, such person or persons whose lives or such estates depend shall return again from beyond seas, or shall provide, or shall, on proof of any action, be brought for recovery of the same, be made to be appeared living, or have been living at the time of the eviction.
Oh, really?
So that means that in some cases, if this person was still alive when you evicted us, you have to restore us because they were alive. Maybe they died later, but they were alive at the time of the eviction. Um, then that thenceforth the tenant, sorry, or lessee who is outed of the same, his or their executors, administrators, and assignees may re-enter, repossess, have, hold, and enjoy the said lands or tenements in his or their former estate. So they get to go back to where they were to take on the land. Okay. So then it says it says this is expected since the time of the eviction. Land is tenants. Just wanted to read it real quick so I can understand. All right, so they're made to be appeared living. Okay. Persons. Okay, and also upon action or actions to be brought by him or them against the lessers, revisioners, or tenants in possession, or persons respectively, which since the time of the said eviction receive the profits of said lands or tenements, recover the damages, the full profits of said lands or tenements respectively, with lawful interest for and from the time that they were outed of said lands and tenements. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there because that's a chunk. So what that means, again, we got a we got a piece of land. The guy is farming the land, right? The guy gets tired of farming the land, leaves it to his cousin or his nephew. He goes off somewhere. He's gone for 7 years, right? 7 years, 6 months go by. Okay. They've enacted the Cestui Act. They said 7 years are going by. They kick out the nephew. Now, during that 7 years, Neff found gold, and he been taking the gold and he been using the gold, right? So of course, the people who are saying that we're owed money, they coming for the gold. That's what they really want. So they're like, well, Cestui Act, 7 years. This guy has to be declared dead. Uh, we get to go in and take the land back. So they go in, they take the land back. They start mining for the gold, but they mining heavy. Little Neff was just doing his thing by himself. They go in there with the crews, the machines, and everything. They mining heavy. They making way more money, right? When 7 years and 6 months, and Dad roll up in the horse, oh shit, he alive. What he then gets to do is he gets to go to the courts and he gets to say, "Yeah, I'm alive. Um, whatever it is that I owe them, I'm about to pay them for their 7 years because I didn't found a frog that's going to change everybody's life. It's going to make everybody live longer. I'm about to blow up. I'm about to pay them what they owe. But in the last 6 months, they've made hundreds of billions of dollars. I'm going to need that because they made that off of the land that I was supposed to be renting. That's my lease. That's the contract with me. It's not a contract with nobody else. So whatever comes out of there is due to me first because the contract is with me. I'm not dead. So here you go, your money. This is how you make this is where equity comes in. You give them what they're owed. They give you your possession back and whatever money they made while they were using your possession. That's the interest that it's talking about. Okay? So anything that they gained during the time that they were possessing or using, it says uh, they receive profits of said lands or tenements. The reason why you have to use the land or the tenement is because, like I said, if you got a piece of land, you can use it for many things. If you're using that land for people to stay, right? You build your little hut, your little hotel, whatever you want to call it, and people come stay there, and then you find water. So you build yourself a nice little, also a nice little pool or whatever. Now the people coming to stay there more and more and more and more and more because you got something that nobody else got. So now you're profiting, right? Well, all those profits go to me, the person who has the original contract to lease that land, because I'm not dead. So that's where this part of the law will come in at. Any anything that is owed to me is due to me if you have been profiting off of my tenements or my lands or something um that is contractually mine. Contractually. That means that at some point, me and this other entity entered into a contract that said whatever the contract says. But if they are if for any reason one side of this contract, one side is profiting way more than the other, there's an imbalance. So if you're going to approach it equitable, you're going to look for balance, and that goes both ways. If you are renting, if I say here you can rent my house, you stay there 7 years and you never pay me a dime, that's inequitable. The amount of debt versus what I've gotten from that transaction is way more. You owe me way more than what I've given you. It's an imbalance. So the same is true for profits, though. If I say you can use my horse, okay, for your business, just pay me 3% of whatever your profits are, 10%, whatever your profits are, and you come to me with less than that, that's inequitable because that was not the terms of the contract. So that's where it would get your modern day application. Okay. So this is English law. This is I'm reading from legislation.gov.uk. This is not the United States. Okay, so now what is the relevance? Because we're not in the UK, right? We're in the United States. So what is the relevance? Well, if you just I think I did this a little while ago. What is common law? What is common law? Wow. What is common law? Okay, this is just me Googling it. If you just Google common law, it'll tell you what the definition of it is. Um, what common law is the collective laws of. Let's be more specific. Let me do this. English common law. Mm. What is meant? This is the question. What is meant by English common law? A system of laws based on customs, court decisions, rather than written laws made by a parliament. Okay, this is the example that the United States takes from a system of laws that are based on customs and court decisions rather than by written laws. This is what the United States American law is based on. Okay, but it's not just the United States. There are many countries in the world that go underneath this idea of common law. What what people may not understand is that what you're looking at when you look at the map of common law dispersed throughout the country, throughout the world, is you're looking at a map of the British Empire. It's literally the same thing. Anywhere you see English common law, you're going to see, or British or UK or whatever, anywhere you see that law being used, what you're looking at is the power and the reach of the British Empire. The United States is an extension of the British Empire. It's that simple. Again, when we started, we said the word law goes back to rule and it goes back to power. My power, my influence over you is the law. That's what it is. My ability to force, this is key. My ability to force what I want, not election, not selection, not inspiration, not divine intervention. Nah, none of that. Force of will is what creates law.
Acquired by any means necessary. That's the
Yes.
word.
One of the a good exercise in understanding these concepts. Um, Me and Grounded, um, we were looking at the Black Law Dictionary, and one of the things my grandfather taught me was that when you um, when you are studying something, study it to completion. Don't you know, when I sat down and he had a encyclopedia in his house, and when I sat down to pull a book from the encyclopedia, the first thing I wanted to pull was, you know, something interesting, tiger or snake or, you know, I wanted to see something crazy, right? He said, nope, 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 nope. Start with A. What? Start with A. You get that A down, then you go to B. I said, okay, Grandpa. And I started with A. I read the whole thing. Because if you truly want to understand something and study something, you have to go to its origin, the beginning of it, and go all the way through it, see all the changes. So me and Grounded sat down and we said, let's look at this Black's Law dictionary. Let's see what it's all about. Let's start with some A words. One of the first words that we came across was acquire. The definition of acquire was get it by any means necessary.
Period. There was
And
a period at
I
that.
hate to say period like that,
It was
but
a
it
period
was a
in that
literal
sentence.
period at the end of that. There was no more explanation. There was no see what you got to do is sometimes on the third day around the moon and then you burn your sage, spin around 3 times. There was no custom at all. It was void of any type of ritual.
Whatever your strategy is to get what you want, take it. That's what that means. We don't care how you get it.
So we thought that was interesting because what we were talking about, what we were trying to learn, how is it okay for someone, a third party, to come and take your vehicle if they're not contracted to? How are they able to do that? And what we found is, well, acquiring something is very legal. Has to be fundamentally, it has to be because acquisition is how we got here.
How they got here, nigga. I
We
was
we
already here.
we we are a colony, a British colony. That means that somebody landed here and said, this shit gonna be mine. And they imposed their rule and their law. So it shocked us at first. And then we thought about it like, no, that actually, no, that makes sense. What wouldn't make sense is if I open the Black's Law Dictionary or I learn in fundamental things about this law and I start to go into ritual. If I see something that says what you got to do is you got to burn this, move this candle here, stand in the right corner for 3 days, sit down. No, then I know that no, that ain't no, that don't sound like the British Empire at all. But if something says take it, there's a fight over who owns it. Well, take it. That's very yes, yes.
That nigga said that's very
That's yes. That's it right there. Jackpot. You hit it because that is the people who began this thing that we're talking about. That's the idea that seems right. If I have the ability to take it, then I should take it. Period. And if you don't have the ability to defend it, It's almost like you're giving it to me. It's the same thing. So in that context, you have this Cestui Act, an act that says you can't just take something just because a certain amount of time has passed. If I can prove that
I am who I
I
say I am.
am who I say I am, and the original contract is with me, then I'm due whatever I'm due, and I have to pay whatever I owe. It's both sides. That's the context that we were dealing with. Did you have any?
Thing I wanted to add?
Yeah, like something.
No, I just wanted you to explain it, tell them what to look up, and try to help them understand what it's.
So the
How
relevance
do
to,
you benefit from it? How do you
or how do
benefit
you
from it?
benefit
Yes.
from it? Okay, so the relevance that some are arguing today of the Cestui Act is that many years have passed since 1948, and the revision. Well, there's a couple things going on right here. The the English common law is what the United States uh, was established with. Um, because they started with that common law and they built upon this idea that if you make cases, then the cases as a body stand as law themselves. Um, if you do it that way and you build upon it, then all of it is relevant, no matter how old it is. As long as it hasn't been repealed or redacted, then if it's still in the books, it's relevant. So because this American system was established first as a British system with very similar instances, this idea of establishing that hey, someone has been using my property, I've been contracted into to hold this property, and someone else has been using it and they've been profiting from it. If if I can prove that they've been profiting from using this property of mine, I'm due something from their profit. And also, if there's anything owed on this property, if there's any debts on this property, then I have to write those debts and correct them. And in doing so, in doing so, financially, I write my estate because I don't want my estate to be in debt. I don't want people to be talking crap about my name, my family name, right? So the relevance is that because this is an English system, and because there is these laws that have not been repealed, someone could claim, and this is what people are doing, making a claim on their current property. How does that tie in? Okay, well, all of us have are issued a number, right? And that number doesn't come from us; it comes from another entity. That entity gives us rules for dealing with it, interacting with this number. And it tells us to report if anybody is profiting off of the use of this number that is assigned to us. They will tell you if you find somebody doing that, let us know because we will not tolerate someone using the property that is assigned to you for their profit. We do not tolerate that. Why do you think so?
Because that's interfering with their profit.
So
Is that right?
yeah, because the root of this idea, this English idea, is still present today. We still use this type of rulership, this type of law, this theory of law. We still use it today. We're applying it to a different type of property, but it's 100% relevant when you think of the fact that If I steal your social security number, I can open up a bank account. I can take money, put money in that bank account, and then I can take and use that bank account to open up a different bank account. And then I can, through a completely different scheme, start siphoning money through those bank accounts. If I do that in large number, those bank accounts will generate interest. When the interest is generated, that interest is due to the owner of the Social Security number, the person it was originally assigned to, the person who has the contract originally, not no second hand. So now we find, hey, this person has been using my property. They have been profiting off of this. They owe me, right? This is what we do today. This is the, I know, because some people, when you look at this and you say, man, that was back then in King Charles, what does that have to do with today? Well, the reason why I say that you have to understand these concepts rather than trying to go back and forth and read it, the document, you have to understand these historical concepts in order to even understand what's happening to you right now today. Because right now today, you are living underneath a rulership, a law, and you follow them every day, the do's and don'ts. You should understand that these things were established because of how the people thought. They thought this is a good idea. So, because that's how they practice law, rulership, expect it to be applied to all the things that they practice.
So how would you go about telling the government, whoever the corporation is, you're alive?
So, in today's time, we have a couple of different methods where if there is misuse of your property, you can report said misuse of your property, and you can also establish that you are the only one with the original contract and therefore the only one with the ability to profit off of your property, off of that which is was assigned to you, I should say. Because you don't actually own it. It's a tenement. It was built for you to use for your use, but it was not built to be shared. It is a one person hut. Does that make sense? So it is a tenement, and it can house, and it can be built upon, and it can be indebted to. It can create debt, and it can create credits. You can create it can create credits
So when
if you
you,
use it right.
so I think what I was trying to get to, um, when you complain about your credit, when you complain about interest of somebody using your name without your permission,
Hmm.
that's you saying that I'm no longer out to sea.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what Grounder was saying was that if you do if you say somebody was talking about what was they talking about like saying you back from sea or something like that,
Oh yeah, your ship is docked,
something
something
like
like
that.
that. Yeah, but
So
that's not, that's that more stuff. That's why they be saying you were more when you say shit like that.
well, I think what again, this is just
I
going
know.
not really, maybe I would say understanding it differently, seeing it differently. Okay. So if you have a different perspective, then maybe you see something different. So um enacting this today, how does this benefit me? How does this help me? Well, one of the things that Grounded did is she researched the use of her social security number. She asked the Social Security Administration to give her any accounting of the use of her number just to make sure that they were in the same on the same page. So basically, to make it simple, you and the Social Security Administration on the day that you were born, you enter into a contract. They assign you this number, and you
Agree that you would be
uh,
the only one using it.
yes, you agree at that time that you will not allow other people to use this number. You will not abuse this number. This is, and there's a couple other things in that contract, but you enter into that contract with the Social Security Administration. Um, what that number that they give you is allowed to do it is allowed to transact. It is allowed to go out into the world and become a product. You are not the only one with it. You're not the only country with it. There are other countries that have serial numbers as well. If you look at that map, it's going to mirror that British Empire. But it is not. Don't get it fucked up. It is not the British Empire. It's much greater. So, anyway, you have this number. You enter into this contract. As you go through your life using this tenement, this number.
What was that?
Hold on a second, y'all.
Who was it?
Let me call my daughter. Uh, yeah. Okay. All right. So, dang, where was I at? Okay, relevance to modern day, and how do you say I'm back from sea? If you take that number that you were assigned, knowing what that contract is, and you go through your life and you add debts to that contract or that number, right? If you add those debts over time, right, you are allowed to um, make certain administration with that number. There's certain things that you can do with that number to ensure that it's being used properly. Okay. So one of the things that, and this is what Grounded did, is just to review the debts. If if you legit owe because you did not pay something, then that's legitimate. But one of the ways that people have figured out how to profit in the modern era is to take that assigned number and use it as if though they are the person. We call it identity fraud, identity theft.
You guys
But
cut it.
that's
Get off of the they won't come back to part
okay. But that's a very basic way. It gets much more complex, much more complex. So what you can do is an audit on that number. You can say, how many people are using this number that nobody's supposed to use except for me? And when you run that audit, you can also say, um, from this point on, me, the only person who has the contract with the Social Security Administration with this particular number, I am and shall be the only person who gives rights for someone to claim a debt against this number. So you stand in the foreground between you and that property. No different than if somebody comes up onto your front door and they want to post a sticker on your door and that sticker saying something about whatever it's saying. It don't matter what it's saying. You stand at the front door of your tenement and you say, yo, don't be sticking nothing on my door. You making everybody on the block look at my door with this bright orange. What is you doing? And then that person said, "Oh, well, somebody sent me to stick this on your door, and they said that you owe them, and they gonna keep sticking these on your door until you pay them." You can say to that third party, first of all, I don't know who you are or who sent you, but whoever said that I owe them anything, they lied to you. I don't owe nothing, and don't ever come back to my door again. When you do that, that administration, when you say to the SSA, Social Security Administration, somebody been, you know that tenement you gave me? Somebody been graffitiing on the walls on the outside. I caught them though. I caught them and I told them don't ever come back here again. So do me a favor. If you see them, let them know. They can't mess with this. And they will actually go to work for you. They will look for anywhere that number is being used or abused. And if that person doesn't have a right to, yeah, they will kick them out. Because the contract is between you and them, nobody else. But this also means that you have to be a responsible steward. That means you need to learn about this process, and no matter where you are on planet Earth, you need to learn the intricacies of how this process affects your everyday life.
So keep reading the act until you understand it.
Right. So I hope that clarifies some of this stuff for y'all.
And if y'all want him to, can they hear me?
I don't know.
And if y'all want him to, um, if y'all want him to actually do a podcast where he's reading the whole Sesta KVI Act, let us know and we'll see if he can make some time to do that.